When you think about the list of evil actors within this regime and supporting this regime, it's a list that basically accounts for a who's who of evil billionaires. There are so many billionaires that have supported this regime. In fact, 40 of the richest donors in the US have given hundreds of millions of dollars to the Trump campaign. A discussion of evil billionaires needs to start with Mark Zuckerberg. Because were it not for Zuckerberg and his enabling of Cambridge Analytica, Trump would have never gotten elected in the first place. Cambridge Analytica was able to violate Facebook's terms of service and steal data of its users and manipulate that data in order to influence small pockets of users into the Trump camp during his 2016 campaign. Now, as an outgrowth of that effort, Russia was able to continue the social engineering process of manipulating elections and influencing voting through the use of disinformation and misinformation. So when we look at the world as it is today, and you look at the prevalence of bot farms all over the world, all of that effort has its roots under Mark Zuckerberg and Cambridge Analytica. And what did we notice the minute Trump got elected? Zuckerberg immediately flipped the script and went from somebody who was supposedly playing the role of a good guy looking for the welfare of the greater public to somebody that is all the more eager to lick the boots of the orange fascist. So when we think about evil billionaires in and around the orbit of the Trump regime, Mark Zuckerberg is at the top of the list. But he is not alone. When you think about the different donors, the billionaire donors that have propped up this regime, this provides a target-rich environment for us to operate in when it comes to crippling them in terms of their financial interests. So let's talk about some of these folks that you might not have heard of, but are deeply involved in propping up the Trump regime. One of the first people that we need to look at is Steve Schwarzman. He is the CEO of Blackstone, and he has done one of the bigger about faces that we've seen amongst the billionaire class, where in 2022, he was arguing for new leadership in the Republican Party. And then all of a sudden he flipped and continued his support of the Trump regime. So when you look at people like Schwarzman, he is somebody that we should be identifying as a clear and present danger to the Republic. There is no secret to instances where I've said that every billionaire is evil and they need to be stripped of all of their wealth and resources and be reduced to nothing. He is high on the list of people that need that treatment. But Schwarzman isn't alone. You have Marian Adelson, who is another huge donor to the Trump regime. Adelson was the wife of Sheldon Adelson and is a major donor to the Trump regime. She's got net worth in the range of 35 billion, and she was given a Medal of Freedom in recognition for the funds that she had funneled to the Trump regime. As of now, we know that she has donated at least 90 million to help Trump get reelected, and she is operating in the background, continuing to fund and finance the different initiatives that Trump is pushing forward. Not to be outdone, we need to consider some of the other lesser known billionaires who are propping up this regime. You have Bill Ackman, who is a key figure within the administration and in administration circles. He has a reported net worth of $9 billion, and he's a vocal supporter of Trump on the disinformation swamp that is currently run by Elon Musk and often comes to the aid of Trump policies. He's the founder and CEO of Pershing Square, and he was a vocal endorser of the president after the staged assassination attempt that occurred in July. What is interesting about this particular billionaire, among many other billionaires, is that their opinions change as often as most people change their underwear. Ackman was one of those people that was firmly in the camp of Trump should resign and should never take office after January 6th. But like many billionaires, whenever there's an opportunity for money to be made, they will throw their allegiance behind whoever is going to pad their bottom line at the expense of the average citizen. In addition to Ackman, one of the folks that definitely need to be on the radar as far as key funders of this Nazi regime are Dick and Elizabeth Uline. You might not be familiar with the Ulines, but they are consistent and regular funders of Republican causes all across the country, and they've been massive supporters of the Trump regime. In fact, they were in the top 5 of all donors in the last election cycle. And when you think about what the Ulines are known for, they have built their wealth off of their shipping supplies business. They have a combined net worth rumored to be in the range of $12 billion. They were initially supporting Ron DeSantis, and when DeSantis flamed out, they threw their full weight behind Trump. Now, what's interesting about the Ulines is that when you look at their holdings, they run one of the most despised businesses in the Midwest. Now, they have an international footprint and they've continued to grow, but it's not surprising considering their support for some of the most toxic Republicans in the country that they have a hard time finding people to work in their organizations. When you think about a cult-like employee landscape, the Ulines definitely run what can be called as a cult within their enterprise. In addition to the Ulines, you have the Ricketts family, who are massive supporters of the Trump regime. Joe Ricketts, who is the founder and CEO of TD Ameritrade, is worth somewhere in the neighborhood of $4 billion. He's been recorded in saying some less than savory things about minorities and people of color, so it is not surprising to learn that he absolutely loves the Trump regime. While we're talking about billionaires that are propping up this regime, we can't ignore the influence of the Waltons, who are heirs to the Sam's Club and Walmart fortune. This entire family, for the most part, has contributed heavily to the Republican cause and especially the Trump campaign. And what's interesting is that their organization and their business operations are one of the biggest reasons why the middle class has been wiped out over the last 40 years. Their business model relies on getting mom and pop stores shut down so that their big box retailers can price gouge in the marketplace. They come into a market, lowball everything, make sure mom and pop stores go out of business, and then jack prices up while paying their employees below poverty wages and expecting the taxpayer to subsidize their healthcare. When you're talking about one of the most egregious abusers of employment law, that is the Walton family and their operations when it comes to how they run Sam's Club and Walmart. And before we get into the major players within the Trump regime in terms of evil billionaires that are in their orbit, we cannot forget the role of Jeff Bezos. Jeff Bezos is another example of a billionaire parasite who has never paid taxes on anything, and he has run an operation that is very similar to the Waltons in that they exist solely to wipe out the middle class and create a predatory retail environment. Amazon, under Bezos's leadership, is one of the most toxic and worst employment environments that's out there. It is no secret there have been multiple instances of employees literally dropping dead in their organization. And Bezos is known to have been on the record saying every employee should be terrified when they walk into the office and wondering if they're going to get fired today. This is truly a toxic person. And this is somebody who is amongst the worst examples of windsock capitalist billionaires and part of the parasite class that needs to be eliminated and exterminated from today's society. But here's where it gets interesting. All of these people that I named aren't even the worst examples of billionaires within the Trump orbit. At the top of the list is Peter Thiel.